Why are we spending $45 million on a parade? A parade doesn't strengthen readiness. It doesn't house families. It doesn't provide mental health services or update barracks or help veterans get appointments faster. It's spectacle, an expensive show of power designed to create political optics rather than actual military capability. And Bell isn't just arguing policy, he's arguing values.
Mr. Secretary, unlike my colleague down the dais, I don't feel sorry for you. I visited with soldiers in war zones whose life is on the line, so a few tough questions. I think you'll be okay. And so my first question is, are you authorized to disclose intelligence that would put our troops in harm's way to our enemies?
Well, I reject the premise of the
Just saying,
question.
just as a hypothetical, are you authorized to do that?
I have not and do not.
Exactly, and I assume that. So when you told our ranking member that everything that you say is authorized, that wasn't completely accurate, correct?
What I said is that every way that I communicate is
No,
authorized.
you actually said everything that you said is authorized. I wrote it down. Now, with that said, and the reason I bring that up is because it's about accountability. And we're talking about this war ethos. The primary component of that is accountability. And I'm going to indulge me in a quick analogy. Republicans introduced a bill on the House floor a few days ago, a resolution standing against terror, racism, hate, anti-Semitism, which as an American, as a black man, I'm going to stand against those things 6 times a week, twice on Sunday. Now, the nefarious part was there was a line that was stuck at the end of that resolution that essentially gave a shout out to law enforcement, which I do support, but also to ICE, which right now, a lot of Americans have a problem with the way ICE is being deployed. And I'm not happy with what they're doing, nor do I want to shout them out for that. And so accountability was, I didn't duck from the question. I went and I talked to my constituents. I went on social media. I did interviews to explain exactly where I stood, that I stand against hate. I stand against racism. I stand against anti-Semitism. And I hate that that line was stuck in there. That's accountability. So when we're asking you these questions and you're ducking and you're not answering them directly, that's not a culture of a war, what was the term? A war ethos, a warrior ethos. I'm looking at members who serve, and they're taking their lead from you. That starts with you. And if we have troops who are in war zones and they're watching while they're risking their lives, and you can't just answer some tough questions, what kind of culture is that setting? So, as a prosecutor, when I think about what's happening in California and around the country with ICE, it's not only dangerous and unconstitutional, but it raises serious public safety concerns because we have people with masks that are going around saying that they're ICE, and we've had reports of that, saying that they're ICE and committing crimes. And that's a big problem. But it gets me back to the point of the accountability piece. So, for example, do you believe quality military housing is important? Yes or no? And just keep your mic on for time because I don't only have a minute left.
Our budget commits to robust military housing and barracks upgrades.
Do you believe military children deserve a strong education?
Our budget funds strong education, and we hope more educational choices for military.
Love it. Is it a priority to provide real, reliable care to our veterans?
Of course.
So, Mr. Secretary, we have a problem here because your answers don't match your budget priorities. You said your mission is to restore this warrior ethos and that threats we face are serious, but so must our investments. So when we think of, for example, a $45 million parade, I can think of 45 million things we could do more effectively with $45 million than a parade, such as the things that I mentioned. Military housing, military children's education, providing reliable care for our veterans. All of these things would be higher on the priority than a parade. And so the parade, and when we talk about showing strength, we're not talking about theater. We're not talking about showmanship. We're talking about things that actually make our military more lethal and keeps us safer. And so what I'm saying is that in my limited time left is accountability does matter, and this body cares about what our military is doing because we care about national security and we all take it very seriously.
Gentleman's time is expired.
What message do we send to the rank-and-file service members when the person leading them dodges accountability in front of Congress while allocating tens of millions to something as superficial as a parade? In this exchange, what Wesley Bell does so effectively is cut through the political theater and return the focus to something many Americans feel has been missing from the Pentagon under Republican leadership: accountability. His opening line makes it clear. This isn't about personal sympathy for a cabinet official. It's about the very real expectations we place on the people we trust with our troops' lives. Bell reminds the room that the people who deserve sympathy are soldiers on the ground, not secretaries sitting comfortably in Washington refusing to answer direct questions. What stands out immediately is the tension around truthfulness. Bell asks a simple question: are you authorized to disclose intelligence that could endanger our troops? The secretary doesn't answer it directly. Instead, he rejects the premise. Classic political evasion. But Bell isn't interested in playing verbal chess. His point is that the secretary claimed everything he says publicly is authorized, but that's simply not true, and Bell calls it out. For Bell, this is about the integrity of leadership. It's about whether the person in charge of the Department of Defense understands that the culture of a military, its discipline, its cohesion, its moral center, starts at the top. Leaders don't create accountability by talking about warrior ethos. They create it by practicing it. Bell's analogy about the congressional resolution on hate is important because it gives viewers context on what accountability looks like outside the military. He voted against a resolution he otherwise supported because of a last-minute political insertion designed to score points rather than address real issues. Instead of hiding, he explained his position openly to his constituents. That, in Bell's eyes, is what leadership should look like: transparency, honesty, and a willingness to stand by your principles even when the politics get messy. That's why he pushes so hard on ICE abuses. Across the country, we've seen troubling instances of masked individuals detaining people without warrants, reasonable suspicion, or probable cause. Bell points out that this not only violates the Constitution, it creates a dangerous environment where criminals can impersonate ICE officers to prey on vulnerable communities. And who is responsible for setting the tone that allows this behavior to continue unchecked? Leadership. When accountability is absent at the top, chaos spreads at the bottom. Bell then moves the conversation to priorities. These questions, the ones Republicans accuse Democrats of using to attack the administration, aren't theoretical. They're about real people and real needs: housing for military families, consistent education for military children, healthcare for veterans. When Bell asks the secretary whether these things matter, the secretary gives the predictable yes. But Bell immediately shows the disconnect. If these needs matter, why aren't they reflected in the budget? If the administration truly cares about a warrior ethos, it would show it by investing in the people who serve, not in displays meant to satisfy political ego. His commentary challenges viewers to think critically about what real strength looks like in a democracy. Is it about tanks rolling through Washington for TV cameras, or is it about a military that is housed, educated, supported, and led with honor? Bell makes it clear where he stands and where Democrats stand. Strength isn't something you perform, it's something you build. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to keep following how Democrats push for accountability, transparency, and real investment in our troops and communities, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and join the conversation in the comments. Let's keep building a more informed, engaged electorate because democracy depends on it.